So what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Robert, if this is your first time tuning in. So today we're going to talk about trying to get into your first rental property. Again, as we start the new year, a lot of people are looking for getting into real estate. They're looking to get into their first investment, looking to better themselves, better their families, etc. So I thought this would be a good video to put out. Since I have bought more than one property already, thought I'd give my take on it and kind of what I did to make it a successful buy and sell at the same time. So the horses are back here somewhere. You might see them in the back of the video, but my name is Robert, if this is your first time tuning in, and if you gain any value, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So the first thing I start doing when I'm looking for a property is going to be looking at, and this is for a residential rental property. That's what we're going to be talking about today, is residential rentals. So the first thing that I'm looking at is looking at the rents. What are the rents in the area? Does it make any sense? So for me in my area, for like a 3-2, depending on the luxuriness of the home or the niceness or the quality of the home, they range anywhere between, on the low end, like $1,650 all the way to like $2,000–3,000 a month. It just depends on how nice the property is. But aside from that, you're going to look at the rents. You're going to look at the prices of the homes. There you go. Now you can see them. I don't know if you can, now you can hear them. I don't know if you can see them. But anyways, and then you're also going to look at the taxes. Taxes are really important, especially here for Texas. We have pretty high taxes, so you're going to have to consider that. So the cost of the home, the taxes, your insurance. Also, if you're going to be in a floodplain, because if you're in a floodplain, there's a lot of properties in and around my area that are relatively inexpensive, but if you have to add flood insurance, it's going to drastically affect your cash flow each month. So definitely look at that. Look at the 100-year floodplain, and it'll kind of tell you if you're in a flood zone. Also talk with your bank, your insurance, see if you're going to need flood insurance or not. Because again, it'll take money out of your cash flow every single month. Aside from that, then you're going to start inspecting the home as well. Once you run the numbers and know where you need to be, then you can start looking at homes and those specific dollar amounts. And then again, you try to figure out which one's going to be best for you, which one's going to need the less work, which one's faster to get into. Because again, time is money. So if you buy a home that is in extreme distress, sure, you can get a good deal, but you have to pour a lot of money into it. But on top of that, it's going to take a lot of time. So again, you're going to have to carry over the cost for, say, 3 months of construction while you're working on that home to get it livable again. You have to consider, can I sustain myself if this is your first property, right? Can I sustain myself for those 3 months while I'm working on that property, versus if I pay a little, a small premium for a house that's basically move-in ready and I can get a tenant in there in a week or two, right? So, these are all costs you're gonna have to consider. Can you hold yourself over for that extended amount of time while you work on the home? And again, for me, whenever I first started, I didn't have people working for me. I did a lot of this work myself. I would literally come from my job. I would sleep on the floor in my first rental, and then I would sleep like an hour or two because I worked both nights and days. So I'd sleep like an hour or two, wake up and start working on the house. Literally just sleeping on the floor because I wanted to get this thing done. I knew time was money, and I didn't have a whole lot of money at that time, but I had enough to carry myself over while I got this thing started. So things like that to consider when you're looking for your home. Next thing I would consider is also the school districts. It's really important. More important, so based on my experience, for like 3-2s and any 3-2 or 4-2 or 4-3, because typically it's usually families that are moving in, picking up those types of homes. The 2-1s typically was like a single person or just a couple with no kids. Very rarely would I get a couple with one child. So for the 3-2s, 4-2s, if you're looking for those, I would definitely look at the school districts and how close are the schools to those houses as well. Is really important. Again, it may not be so much important for you, it's important for your prospective tenant, which then in turn is important to you because that's your money. So those are all things I would look at. just good areas, a lot of good areas. A lot of the houses I picked up were in really downtown, centrally located areas. So I really didn't have a hard time getting tenants, especially for 3-2s and 4-2s. Those things go very, very quickly. There's a lot of people looking for homes. And we have apartment complexes here in our area, but they are really expensive. So if you get a hold of a 3-2, it's actually not too bad. But aside from that, so again, I'm sure maybe a lot of you guys have heard about it, but the 1% rule is something that I typically do pay attention to in my area. That might not work in your area. Again, just to kind of do the math, make sure it's going to work for you. But for me, it would work. I would usually be well above the 1% rule, usually about 1.5 or higher. I was never at 1%, to be honest with you. But yes, the 1% rule is important. Maybe not so much important, maybe in like California, Florida, these high areas, high value areas. But what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else. So when I'm looking for a property as well, this is kind of, I guess, some good information here. When I was looking for properties, again, I'm not buying residential real estate anymore. I'm buying more like land and stuff like that. But when I was buying residentials, first thing I would look for is going through Zillow, Redfin, all these areas, and looking for houses that are just outdated. They're not so much in distress, but they're just outdated. So I'll give you a quick example. So one of the houses that I picked up for, again, so people who are looking to buy these houses to live in typically just want to move in. They don't want to be doing a whole bunch of work, generally, right? For the most part, you know, a lot of the population is pretty lazy. We don't really want to do work, right? We take the laziest route for the easiest gain, right? So you're still going to do that with real estate. So I'm going to go with the easiest route to increase my value. So when I would look at a house, I see a house that maybe had an elderly couple living in there. And this example, you could tell it was an elderly couple that lived in one of the properties I bought. Everything was just outdated, had old pictures, old flooring, old curtains, butcher block, whatchamacallit, countertops. They even had like those elderly things where you sit on the toilet for like to hold yourself up, things like that. So it was a good home, had solid bones, good solid home, just needed some you know, a little facelift basically. So I can go in there. I think I offered them like 30 or 40,000 less than what they were asking, and they took it actually right away. And then before I knew, I think I bought the house for like 90K, rented it out finally for like 1,700. So it was a good deal. And when we finally left, we were at 1,700. So all I did really was just add some flooring. Flooring was outdated. Put some sticky vinyl on the countertops. I don't go in and spend a whole lot of money on these countertops because, you know, tenants are not super careful. Some are, but those typically get scratched up and stuff like that. So if I just put the vinyl sticky layer on top, if it does get messed up, I can just rip it off, put a new one, and it looks really good. From the naked eye, you can't tell unless you are actually like zooming in and looking at this thing. Did a little bit of shower work and a little bit of plumbing work, and not a whole lot of money into it. And we were ready to go, I think in like 2 or 3 weeks. We were able to get the house going. Again, it wasn't a distressed home. It was just a house that was older, that was outdated, and just needed a little, you know, more modern touches, modern fixtures, flooring work. Again, little things that are not super important. I mean, not super important. Little things that are not super hard to do, especially if you're a DIYer. And you can get the house rented out a lot quicker versus doing a whole, you know, demolition or a whole distressed property. It's going to take usually months. So that was one of them. That would be my biggest tip, is to look for houses that are not necessarily distressed, but just outdated. Again, the house I'm talking about looked like it was from the 80s. It was decorated from the 80s, even though we're already in the 2010s. So a lot of people don't want to go in through the hassle of just updating it. It's not really hard work. A little paint job, a little bit of flooring, and you have yourself a totally different looking home. So again, as long as the bones are good, as long as the house is solid, foundation's solid, usually just needs a little touch up and you're good to go. It's a lot faster. Like I said, it's the lazy way to do it, because if you go and get a distressed property, it's going to take a lot longer. And again, time is money. So Yeah, that would just be my little tidbit of information. Again, not financial advice, but something I always looked for was just houses that were outdated and not distressed, because it took too much time. But yeah, without further ado, appreciate you guys watching. Till next time, be careful, be good, take care, and God bless. See you guys later. Bye-bye.